Okay, welcome. Thanks for coming today to the Nesquin Community Plan Steering Committee meeting of December 8th, 2025. And introductions include three committee members, Tom Seep, Lori Kovac, and there's Nancy, and myself, Randall Cook, as the chair of this committee. And there's Nancy Vandell, head of the chair of the bylaws committee, Susan Schomburg beaming in from who knows where, Michael Boyle and Eddie Mejia have joined us. And so we will begin here with the uh, request of approval of the agenda from the committee members. Can
And
I get
I
approved?
I
Yeah,
approve.
okay. And then we want to review, or we're going to ask for approval of the minutes of the November 17th meeting that were submitted by um, Lynn Saxton and are part of the meeting folder. So
I
please,
approve.
okay, Tom?
Yep,
Okay.
sure.
Approval of the minutes of the November 17th meeting and a declaration of conflict of interest by subcommittee members. Have we any conflicts of interest today?
I have no
Nope.
conflicts.
I have
No,
no conflicts.
nor do I. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we have a new draft that Tom has worked out, and I'm going to turn it over to Tom because he can share his screen and walk us through it.
Now, I wonder if when you want to do the review of the presentation for the membership, because we need to do that. We need to, probably at near the end of the meeting, but we need to make sure that we agree that this is what we want to tell the membership what we're doing.
Well, we could do it early since Sarah's not here yet, and we'd like to have her be participating as we go
Fair
through the
enough?
thing. And so that seems like a good thing to start with. Uh, and that
Okay.
will bring up to date the public participants today too, as
Yeah,
uh,
as a side benefit. Okay,
a
fair enough.
primer. Yeah.
Uh, and we'll pretend like we know what we're doing. And
5 years of doing that now.
I haven't been in it that long.
I know, but it's
Okay, in theory, you should see my screen.
wait, I see the yes, we do.
Okay, so this is, as I said, meant to be the briefing for our regular member meeting on the 13th, I think it is. Yeah,
December
Yes.
13th. Yeah.
yeah. So thought I'd answer the question, what's community plan? And basically it's describes the values, goals, recommendation for improvement, and policy statements. And I'll define that
As
as
we
the
go.
last slide. And that's really a discussion point. And it becomes part of the Tillamook comprehensive plan and has to be in line with the land use ordinances and state and county policies. Okay, any
Yeah.
questions?
No.
No.
Okay, okay. So the last iteration was more than 20 years ago. I guess it's about almost 25 now. Uh,
Yes, it is.
that version was reorganized and expanded. And what we consider now, we have now is we're working on an initial draft. And that once we get done with the initial draft, then we start giving public discussions and interactive sessions, uh, similar to what we did with the bylaws. And then things will change, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it important to say we're in initial draft. Don't want anybody to think that although it's been worked on for a long time, we're not cooked yet. Okay, so we basically went through the series of feedback sessions, which were very valuable and very instructive for me. People saying what their values were and what kinds of things they'd like to see happen. So we took that input, the 2001 input, and basically we didn't we didn't delete anything. We just added a few things. And the values worked out to be 5 categories. And these are not hard lines between things. We just needed a way of organizing them. Community character, family focused and education minded, environmental stewardship, safety of persons and property, and resilience. And these values, as it says here, I'm not sure I like the word interwoven, but that's Guy's term.
Okay.
But yeah, they're all interrelated, and they really it's kind of arbitrary to divide them out that, but they were used as a guide for creating the recommendations and goals.
Right.
So here we get with the structure, and this is what we're going to be talking about later. Each one of the values is in a separate section. And basically, each one tries to, what is the current state in Esquin? What goals do we have? And what are recommendations for the future? Structurally, the document is set up as values and goals, and recommendations sort of fall out of what the goals are. And each goal includes introductory text, reason why it's important, suggested methods for going forward, if appropriate, and policy statements are sprinkled throughout both the values and the goals. Once again, I'll defer on defining what that is until now.
Okay.
Okay, so this is actually really important, and it is a change from what was in the document that you guys reviewed.
Okay.
Policy statements are formal positions for the Nisqually community that are folded into the Tillamook Comprehensive Plan. That wasn't explicit before.
Mm.
And I want to make sure that Sarah wanted to make sure that that was explicit. They must be approved by the county and will be used when used in the county. I think we didn't delete a word here. I did now. Used when the county considers, not two considers. You know what? I love Microsoft Word and I love Microsoft PowerPoint, but they don't play well together. So everything which had been deleted when I did a copy out of the document was still there. Anyway,
Okay, well, we'll do
I
it
will
as we
stop.
go.
I will stop ranting, I hope. Okay, so used by the county, well, when it considers review of land use applications, amendments to the plan or Tillamook County Comprehensive Plan or Tillamook County Land Use Ordinance. Each policy has a heading. It's got a title, which is important for the county staff to be able to find them. A description of the policy and indication of methods of implementation. And we'll have examples of that in the actual document. And this is important. Values and goals are required to be consistent with policies. We can't have a goal which is not consistent with the policy. We can have goals, as I understand it, we can have goals outside of policy, but they must not conflict.
Okay.
That's a little different orientation than I understood.
Right.
It kind of flipped it on its head in a way, in that, and of course, Sarah sees it as being her document. Of course, it is really. We're going to hand it off to her. But the values and goals fit into where they fit into, but it's the policies that are the care abouts for the county. And we shouldn't say anything that is in conflict with policies.
Right. But we may say some things that are for our community and pertain to them that aren't county things that are part of this document that she's probably not going to use, but we have heard people say they are interested in these things, and so we include it. So
That's
those
that's
may
my
not have a
understanding.
policy attached to them.
But not everything does.
Right.
Okay, in the current thing, and that's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
that's my understanding. I might be wrong, but that's my current
Well,
understanding.
we'll find out. Okay.
Anyway, that's the assuming that all my assumptions. Oh, sorry about that. Assuming that I'm not too far off. That's what I propose we tell the membership.
Yeah, I think that's a valuable document for reiterating and clarifying for them because we have done that maybe 10 times that we had to restate and reclarify and check with Sarah and get, back and forth until we've gotten to this point. So it's an ongoing dialogue that continues to alter the document, and hopefully by the end it will be clarified and clear to both parties.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Well,
That's
thank you. And I don't find a problem with any of these pieces in particular. So I don't know how you feel, Lori. Did that seem pretty um, up and up for presenting to the membership? Oh, I don't have sound on you, Lori.
Yes, I think that it reflects well what we've been trying to do and what our goal is for the future.
Okay.
I'd be
All right.
curious to find out if any of our audience uh, has any comments on it.
Nancy, Eddie, Susan, any comments on that presentation if it's clear to you?
Sounds good to me. You guys are,
Okay.
sounds great.
As well.
I thought
Okay.
it sounded clear to me as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
yeah.
I'll save this version.
Okay. Well, I thank you for putting that together for that meeting. That's much clearer than I could have articulated in uh, just a dialogue. So I really appreciate that. Okay, now for the document. And is this 30, still 32, or is this made it?
32 is in the can. I mean, this is 33, and we're
Okay,
making
there we
progress.
go.
Yeah. I've only allowed for 2 digits, so we need to make sure that we don't go more than two digits.
Oh, man. I hope not. Okay.
Okay,
Um,
so I have made the change. Let me show you the changes that I did that are reflected in what I just showed you.
okay.
So what's red there is what I've changed. Oh, hey.
View.
So the emphasis just is on that it's a county document.
Aha. Will
I
be.
I don't mind the concept, but the folded in seems like the wrong. Um, I mean, this is our community statement. It's part of it. It becomes part of the Tillamook County. Folded in sounds like, I don't know,
The
I'm making a
policy,
cake batter and I fold in the butter and you never know that it's anything different than anything else.
well, they're integrated in or folded in, whichever makes sense. But the policy statements are indeed inserted into the plan. That's my understanding.
Right. So,
I guess I mean, to me, it would be more like for the Nescoin community that become part of the Tillamook County Comprehensive Plan. They don't just get mushed into it. Like
so
we,
Well, no, they do get mushed into it because everybody's community plan gets mushed into it.
right,
It's
they
not
all
just
are.
us. They all get in together.
So is integrated a more
Integrated,
um,
I like that. I like
okay,
integrated.
let's try integrated because they do kind of disappear in there. I mean, you have to go find the goals and the policies that apply to Nescoin in the comprehensive plan, but those policies were arrived at through a coordination of our community plan and the county. So that's how I understand it.
But I guess my the reason why I folded in seemed incorrect to me, or is because each community is doing their own. By nature of this process, each community has been allowed to do their own plan. So there may be some differences between what we decide and what Nehalem decides. And so if it's, to me, folded in just mixes them all together. Integrated, I like because it says that our plan is being made part of the bigger plan, but it still gives it some autonomy.
Okay. All right. Well, good.
That'll be a good thing to confirm, but I believe that, yeah, you're right. I think that's a better, better phrase.
Okay. Good. All right. Edit number 1 today. Well, we had an A and an at and something else, but those are
Well,
typing.
actually, everything red is today.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, I should warn you that if I have a power interruption here, my
Oh,
system will go down. My
oh,
UPS has failed. So I'm running directly off of house current. And anything
okay.
glitches, and it's only glitched once so far today. Uh,
Okay.
uh, so if I disappear, I'll return as soon as I can.
Okay. Well, we won't have a lot to do without you, so we'll wait for you.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Okay. So that was an important statement. So we're on page 6 here as to there's more before this, or is that the biggest change?
That is before that is you're not meant to look at. That's what I put first.
Okay.
Not everybody pays attention to the watermarks,
Um,
Nancy.
so
Uh,
if we have, shall we go well, I'm trying to think this through without blabbering too much. It seems like what we're reviewing is actually whether this structure,
okay.
that new structure that's been created, is functioning the way we hoped it would.
Okay.
And
So
and
yeah, I sorry for stepping on you. Uh, but I think if you well, first of all, let me turn off the edit stuff. I realize I don't see those anymore. But okay, now the ugliness, at least most of the ugliness is gone. Uh, so for each one of the values, 3 through 7, there's a subsection of community character values or character values and goals in that order, and all of them. Uh,
okay,
6 and 7 are pretty sketchy, I think is the term I used. But up until then, up till 6, they're actually pretty consistent. That we have a statement of values. We have a couple of them that are talked about, and then we have some goals. And where we're going to need most help is goals. Now we have
right.
some individual statements, which may be a value, may be a goal. So that's the kind of thing where we're going forward. But to look at the document as a whole, that's our structure.
Well, I think Lori had a comment that she thought it read and functioned well in so Lori, did you have some opinions about the way the restructuring was working for you
Well,
in reading?
I read through the whole draft just as a start to finish document. I actually wasn't paying attention to the table of contents, but I'm sure that that reflects it. I thought the new approach was great in comparison to the old one. And to me, it made sense. It might be it made sense because I've been working on the committee for the last year, but I think it made sense from the meetings that I've attended, the feedback that we've gotten, and help and having continuity to tell people why we care about the visions, what we're thinking that the visions, how the visions could be expressed in the community, and what things would have to happen to get the visions implemented. So I really appreciate all the work that's happened to revise the document. And to me, it's on the right track. And I would like, yeah, I'd say build upon what you've started in those sections that you feel are more complete.
Okay.
Okay.
And when I read through it and I found sections, it was helpful to me because I got a lot of reason to think about what the recommendations or actions could be, and came up with probably 3 or 4 paragraphs that I felt addressed uh, actual implementation and areas that could be articulated that would talk about Highway 101 and what things we could do there, or in neighborhoods, kind of the ways that the things that were stated could be implemented. So it worked for me to have all those things together. It helped form my thoughts better for saying what I thought the actions could be. So it worked the way I'm hoping people will read it, where they will not only go, "Oh yeah, that's a solid value. What's going to come out of that?" And then I think we can articulate some of the actions that can be taken because it's clearly stated what people wanted. So there are areas that are missing that, but I found it that I could respond to it in a meaningful way. I think I'm going to submit you those
Mhm.
edits, uh, and we'll see if they hold up. But for me, it worked as a sequentially to build an understanding of the connection between the values, uh, the goals, and the policies.
Good.
What,
That was the intent. So I'm very happy to
Right.
hear that.
Good.
one comment I had about, and I know that the document is still a work in process and it needs to be filled in, but there were a couple things which I can't remember off the top of my head where they were, but they reflect more than one value. Uh,
Hmm.
and so it would be nice to somewhere um, just note kind of the other place to look for things that relate to that whatever if there's things that overlap between visions values to just cross-reference. So if someone is particularly interested in that concept, that they will know where else in the plan it talks about that.
Okay. That's a good thing to have for the reader. Cross references in Word are a nightmare. So I'll ask you to defer that until we are almost done,
Yeah,
because
that's
if
fine.
you change anything, they sometimes just go crazy.
Yeah, and I think
I,
that would be kind of go through it and say, oh, we said that in, 4A. Let's just make a little note that, but yeah, that's the editor's prerogative at that point.
Yeah, they are a nightmare.
I'm sorry.
Uh, well, the nightmare in that they're unstable. They don't last over time.
Huh.
Why? I don't know.
Okay.
The
Well.
person they assigned to do that was a short timer, and I guess I don't, probably left the company before he was done. I don't know. But anyway, so if we can go ahead and just look at an example of the structure with this, I should be able to do a control. Ah, it worked. Ah,
Oh, good. Page 7, right? Okay.
and so there's the general format. The more specific format is uh, kind of a definition of what this is about, and then some listing of values. There may be missing values. Um, there may be, maybe values that are cited that aren't appropriate. So everything's open except for the policies. Policies really, we're not going to be able to wordsmith them. If we
Right,
have
those are,
comments on them, we should note the comments, but that's legalese and or countyese or whatever it is, and we're we're not meant to wordsmith those.
okay, policies are what they are. And
Yeah. But if we have a question about them, we should certainly discuss them with Sarah, assuming that she can avoid emergencies. Uh,
uh,
but but in terms of actually me doing the edits on that, I'll defer that to her.
so while we're at this, at this place in the document, I wondered if the Nesco Women's Club should be in there. They're one of the longest standing community uh, groups. And so it seems like they should be the Nesco.
I should probably be embarrassed because Anne is a member of Nesco Women's.
Okay, well, I won't tell her.
Okay.
I'll have one on you so that
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
buy me a beer or I'm going to tell Ann.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, so they're one of the, yeah, that's great to include them because they've been around longer than almost everything else.
100 years.
Yeah, they're a great group.
I was wondering about adding where it says arts to arts and music, just to make sure we have a lot of musicians in the
Oh,
community.
that's true. Yeah, given that Art Nesco and Chamber Music is right after that.
Well,
There you-
okay, you got music already, but
Well, that's just one group, so that seems reasonable.
okay, fair enough. Doesn't cost that much more to add some extra letters.
Should we put in literature and no, never mind.
No, no.
Okay.
Unless you consider this literature, yeah,
I,
maybe
I
not.
so I wasn't sure how much we're just going on structure and if we really want to make some little edits like this, because I have another one on line 6 if we want to go onto the kind of minutia, or on line 6 it says the variety stems from the unique aspects of the setting of our neighborhoods, but also I think it's in the era of construction, because if you look at different neighborhoods like the village, the majority of the character has to do with like 1940s and before. And if you look at, for instance, Hills of Nesquin, it has to do with, I don't know, is that 1990s? Anyway, there are certain eras of construction that also define the neighborhoods. I don't know if that's too.
I think that that's a relevant observation because it does kind of it's indicative in looking at the buildings that some are bungalows and then you have different periods like north of the golf course. That initial group of houses are very distinctive from the 20s and 30s. And
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, but let's try not to. Right now, we're going to try to look at community character
okay,
and see if the structure works.
Okay.
okay. So we got that.
And oh, by the way, I'm going to make it a habit to prepend the instructions on how to do it, so people who are just coming in off the street and want to provide input, they'll have instructions, and also so that we all will make sure that we do it the same way.
Abide by the same
Yeah.
rules, right?
Okay. So here's the first policy, and it's kind of placed arbitrarily at the beginning because it's kind of the most important thing. Uh,
So the Nesco Citizen Advisory Committee serves as an advocate for the community and fulfills, plural, the statewide goal of encouraging grassroots citizen involvement in land use decision-making processes.
yeah,
The Nesco community shall participate in Nesco County's planning efforts and provide comments and recommendations as appropriate. Tillamook County and the Nesco Citizen Advisory Committee shall continue to find ways to effectively involve local residents and property owners in local planning decisions.
Now, this one is the most wordy one, because I actually combined two of them, and it's a little bit ugly, but I think that sets the thing. But the implementation there is important. This is how the county anticipates following up on this. This one is the comp plan goal 1, but also the NCAC bylaws also is part of that. So that's an example of a policy. And we've
Okay.
got other policies, community boundary, that's the same as was previously. And then we go into goals. And such as,
Okay.
so the goals are what the underline and the kind of italics,
Mm-hmm.
slightly darker, are some of the individual goals. Now, as I say, we might not have all of the goals, and they're definitely not all complete. But as they're listed out here, sometimes utility lines, for instance, could actually bring to mind a policy.
I see. So in discussing one, that brings in the policy. And as Lori said, some of them might be in a couple of sections
Yeah,
or allude to a number of ones, but at least you can read the policy and know that that's the policy that applies to that section.
yeah. And whether or not that actually, I'm uncertain whether or not that's the PUD and TCLDO, whether or not that should be a policy or just a goal. I'm not sure. That'll be a decision. I've heard Sarah say that's a dead issue, so it may or may not survive.
I mean,
Apparently,
it's,
as in there's state law that prohibits that exactly this, what's this advocating.
oh, really? State
Uh,
law.
believe that's what she said. I don't want to put words in her mouth.
Okay, well, she can't defend herself at this point. She's not here.
But this
So
is
we'll
all
see if it holds
recorded.
up.
Okay, fair enough. But now here's an example of driveways that was mentioned, but we
Mhm.
don't have any rationalization.
Well, there are already guidelines for that, but so I guess the question is, one of the questions was, would that apply to the new SB 406 stuff that we recommended, and maybe it got in there and maybe it didn't. So it's into the county policy on housing. So we had things that we had wanted. I don't know if they made it into the recommendations that came from us and went to the county. So it's probably one of those things where only Sarah can clarify whether our stuff got in or not, or whether it got rejected by the
Yeah.
consultants. Skinny streets.
And I'm not even sure I believe the skinny streets are a good idea.
Well, it's
I
kind
think,
of too late here.
yeah, well, I mean, in terms added to the existing subdivision standards,
Excuse me.
this is going forward, not backwards. Uh, I think skinny streets are dangerous.
Yeah, there's advocacy on both sides saying, well, people slow down because it's sketchy, or do they just make it dangerous? And if they speed up, it's really dangerous.
Yeah.
So, but
Uh, my
the
my my experience in South Beach Road, they don't care.
they still go fast,
Yep,
even with speed bumps.
even with speed bumps, some bone rattling speed bumps, and they still do it. Okay. So anyway, so that's the structure.
Okay.
We've got a overall view of what this value is. We've got some specifics in terms of what some of the ramifications of those values. Then we have examples of what we would like to have happen in the future.
Right, so let's
That's
look
what
at a
these are.
couple of those.
Yeah,
So the recommendations are a part that we really wanted to connect here, and it
yeah,
seems like this is great in sharing with the community what we heard from them and things that we're going to try to act on out of the plan. So those are valuable to be not separated from these things, but to be
yeah,
integrated. So
yeah.
that's
So I noticed Michael's got his hand up.
okay.
Yes, thank you. Hey, real quick, go back on the skinny streets, just from a person that worked in the fire service for 40 years. One of the downsides of skinny streets is that it does not allow emergency vehicles accessing the area to pass other
Oh, there's
vehicles.
back there.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Okay.
heard you, but let
Oh,
Tom hear that again.
yeah. So I was going back to the skinny streets, and from working on the fire service for 40 years, one thing that skinny streets do pose is the inability for emergency vehicles to pass other vehicles when entering an area. I mean, fortunately, we don't live in an area where you can anticipate on a regular basis large evacuations, but it is just something to keep in the back of our minds. So, thank you.
Sure. And one of the suggestions in talking to the fire chief is for he and Chris Laity from Public Works to go through the village and figure out which streets might be parking on one side or the other so that we don't get people creeping out from both sides of the street and blocking any emergency vehicles from passing. Uh, so that is one of the suggestions from the chief and the public works on our skinny streets is to create a plan where, and it probably won't be embraced by everyone. It's probably neighborhoods are
Yeah,
going to have to decide which side of the street it's going to be, or if it changes every other year or what. But
yeah.
that was one action that was suggested by the fire
And
chief to
that's a
address.
pretty common solution, and it does. I mean, it does work. And I guess if people park on both sides, they shouldn't complain if their vehicle ends up red the next day
Uh, on one side.
on one side. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Michael. Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of discussion for some of these points.
So
Okay. Family focus.
once again, we've got for the family focused and education minded. That's kind of clunky, but I can't think of any better phrase for it. Um,
Yeah, when you read through them, that's what it's talking about.
yeah.
And it seems to be a priority
Yeah.
for Nashua.
Yeah, it was pretty high. I mean, the first two were really predominated the discussions, as I recall. That's why
Yeah,
they're in this order.
right.
Um, so a lot of the goals here are in need of text. And then we've dropped into another policy. I'm just sort of scrolling through here. Stop me if let me get rid of the heading and footing. All this information, this implementation information, came from Sarah.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, all the ones that don't seem lame came from Sarah. If they seem lame, they're mine.
Oh. Well, she's not here to get credit.
Well, you're just taking care of emergencies, you know.
Yeah,
So
so increase bicycle and pedestrian access. I don't think I quite understand that. So that's the idea would be paths or something other than the
yeah,
roads?
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that is the policy there. We don't, we need to kind of support that or not. I mean, we could just leave it as that. But I think it would be good to give some rationale for it. You know, bicycles on 101 are dangerous for everybody,
Right.
including the drivers. Uh, so there may or may not be ways to get from one part of the village to another, but uh, just speaking once again from a personal standpoint, uh, South Beach Road could be connected again to the village. Used to be, uh, and there are others, I guess, that we could see.
Well, the new photo book shows uh, that pretty rickety looking pedestrian bridge across near the mouth of Nesquin Creek or Slab Creek, where it meets the other Hawk and the others.
Yeah.
And it's just, 12-foot posts coming out of the creek and with a little two planks across it with a railing, and that's how you get across the creek. So that's probably not going to fly these days. Might have to do something seasonal though. That's another consideration is a seasonal connection.
Huh? Okay, well, that all that stuff could be part of that.
Right.
Um, I don't I don't know why that statement is there. I wonder if okay, here's where I could have used a cross reference because these got moved around, so I don't know what that actually referred to when I wrote it. So I'm going to
Maintain.
eliminate this thing because
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't street maintenance. So yeah, so one of those things I thought might not be needed, but I don't know which one.
Right. Well, because does 13 kind of addresses that also, but that's kind of a specific way that it's working right
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah, I guess that would be a way of looking at it. We don't need both if we could make sure that the 13 would
Address
address
12.
that. Oh, okay. So maybe it would, maybe it wasn't.
So maybe could policy 12 just be the first sentence in
Policy 13.
policy 13?
Well, I noticed that the solution, the implementation is identical.
Yeah,
That argues for it's just one.
right. Integration.
How about that?
Adios. Yeah, good one. There you go. We
And of course,
saved 2 inches.
that's important. Except we're going to get a few more inches back when we get that synced in. Uh, by the way, don't be in love with the numbers on the policies because they will change. Now that I've deleted 12, that now will be 12.
And the next one will be 13. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
that's so fun to track that, isn't it, Tom?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, the parking thing. Here we go. Yeah, I like the two children trying out their first bikes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and there's an example of lame implementation,
Oh, yeah.
which is I would that was a carryover. That was a policy proposed policy a couple of organizations ago,
Oh,
organizations of the document ago, and it carried forward. So that may be more of a desire than a policy. I don't know.
yeah. Well, Right. Parking on one side of the street is about all we have. And then I get into a whole thing on 101, how they should just have there should be no parking allowed on the east side of 101 from Summit Drive around to the uh, poorly named Slab Creek Road North. Uh, that whole area should not have any parking because it's so dangerous for anyone to cross with their family and stuff. It's just crazy. But people don't pay attention to the no parking signs. They just park there anyway. So there are solutions, but they're not always functional solutions.
I have a question. When for the policies, it seems like most of them have said that somehow Tillamook County Code or something is involved. Is
Yeah.
that true? Because
Yes. No,
um,
no.
it couldn't be implemented unless Sarah authorized some Tillamook County well, money to pay someone from Tillamook County to assist us because something like parking, we can, as a community, suggest solutions, but a, a true parking policy with no parking signs or parking on one side of the street only or whatever, it seems like it can't be enforced unless the county passes it. It's not just a community decision.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall exactly what Sarah said about parking, but I think she said something to the effect of that the county doesn't actually is not an enforcement organization, so they really couldn't enforce parking. Um, so I don't know, would make sense. I don't know who owns that.
Yeah.
So would that be something the NCAC would address or the NCA would address or an independent parking task force or like if it's a community, if the county's not going to enforce it or even it seems like advice from the county roads department would be important to be practical. Um, but if there's no county resources to actually organize meetings, discussions, input, conclusions, then it's going to have to be probably a subcommittee or a committee of either the NCAC or the NCA. So if it went back to one of those two committees, which one would be the more appropriate?
I think NCAC.
So it seems like
NCA doesn't have any enforcement capability. Probably
Well, neither
no
do
one
we.
does. No one does.
I
But
mean,
we could, I know that if we asked for the county to do it and we funded the signs, they are more likely to do it. Uh, they did so if you go to Cascade Head Ranch, they have no parking this side of the road and uh, people obey it to a large degree for the Cascade Head Trail and such. Um, but they offer an alternative, which is to park in the parking lot at the park. And we don't have too many alternatives for where to park besides the state wayside and in the right of ways on each of the streets. So that's why the single side of the street, whether that alternates or what, would require signs and no parking on the other side of the street would just be a matter of people obeying the signs or people pointing them out to people to say you can't park on this side. They can't make a citation or anything, but they can point out that that's for a safety issue. I mean, we've done a lot with signs that people ignore, but not most people. It's just some people ignore them. But if the NCAC comes to it like this and says we need to have this dealt with, and here are our ideas and suggestions, and we have funding to address the cost of those signs if the county doesn't, Um, those are those are compelling to the county to do something about it because it's being funded by the community. So we've found, as we state in the plan, that working with the county and Public Works and coming up with our own sources of funds uh, can be effective in addressing issues. So the NCAC is the only authorized spokesperson for our community. The NCA is an internal community organization, but NCAC is the only one that can go to a state or a county and say, this is something that we've identified as a safety issue. We have the funds to address signs and whatever else that might involve. How can you help us out here? How can we collaborate to solve the problem? So,
So for implementation, could we put NCAC and Tillamook County Public Works?
yeah, those would be two appropriate places that this issue could be addressed.
And then we could figure out if it meets if it's appropriate for any of the comp plan goals, which I don't know off the top of my head, but could be. Like
Oh,
comp plan goal 9 is what we said for street maintenance.
right. Tillamook County Public Works, Tom, is there you go.
W instead of U.
Yeah, W.
You want more than one U, huh?
There you
Okay.
go. Uh,
Maybe comp plan goal 9, possibly.
right, that's what it said above.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see that.
There we go. Great.
Actually, I don't have connections there.
Okay. And then, right, and oh, good, you've got sightings here.
Comp plan.
Oh, comprehensive plan. So, so I have some additions about 101, but you'll see those in the next, oh, well, you might see those. I'll send them to Tom for dealing with Highway 101 and
Okay.
again, we might be able to fund some things that they don't do because they don't want to spend the money. And we can say, well, we'll pay for it if you put a blinking light up, things like that,
Yeah.
that they refuse to do. Okay,
Okay.
workforce
So,
housing.
and education, online presence. Yeah, we need to figure that out. And then that's those two. I think those are probably a big enough bite for us to really consider filling in the yellow
Sections.
sections.
Yeah.
Um, but stepping back, does the structure seem to work?
I think so because I think like you kind of look for the solutions given what is stated the issues are, and then you go, what about, so it's right there, and then there's the county policy addressing how that who you would address it to and the organizations that could be helpful in solving the problem. So I think having these all in the same section, I think, is very helpful.
Okay, good. So we have a concurrence of the entire committee minus everybody who's not here.
3 out of 5 agree.
Well,
That's
that only
not
takes
bad.
3 out of 5. So I would suggest that the things that are uh, highlighted as things we need to have is that we make writing assignments.
Yeah.
And I would also suggest that we do it in pairs.
Okay.
Um, and I myself, I'm going to work on the last two sections. So I'm going to exclude myself from the pairing.
Okay.
But if you work, when we worked on the bylaws, it was very useful to have somebody to bounce ideas off of, and we got a lot better mileage out of meetings because we'd at least said them out loud. Sometimes I know when I had something to say for the bylaws committee, uh, I wound up explaining it to my partner and deciding that it was kind of stupid and never mind.
Oh,
So.
you saved that embarrassment at a meeting. That's
Yes, I
helpful.
certainly, I'm very thankful for that.
Well, I have to say, Lori and I worked before together, and I thought that worked really well. I can't speak for Guy and Lynn, but they did a lot of work together because they're more, I don't know, they have more exposure to planning commissions and different things that are in the direction of the areas they take on. Uh, so,
So
So
how do we want, go
one
ahead.
comment I have is when I was reading through it, and I knew that somebody had mentioned that on one of our coming up meetings, we were going to give writing assignments. There were some of them that, for instance, the skinny streets. I thought to myself, well, I don't know the technical. I don't even know what the technical definitions are of what it means to be a skinny street. Some of these things, I wish that Sarah was here to give us some background and or if
clarification.
if given a writing assignment, if there is someone from the county or somebody with knowledge that can give some initial background so that we're not just a novice person pulling something out of this air that this is why this is important, I mean,
Right, right.
at this point, I feel like, for instance, Lynn and Guy do have more experience with use issues. So I think if they don't know it, they kind of know where to go to get some of the background. Um, it-
Cool.
so
Well,
Michael,
anyway.
I mean, you have the advantage of being here and you can cherry pick what you do.
Michael has a comment, I believe.
Yeah.
Hey, Lori, my
Uh-huh.
experience has been that most jurisdictions have a standard for street width. And so generally, sometimes they use the term skinny street when the street is below that standard. And in most jurisdictions, that width is 20 feet. So if they, so I mean, so that would depend on what the Tillamook County standard is for the street, but I'm sure they have one written somewhere that specifies the standard width for a street. And then obviously due to a variety of things, sometimes a community or neighborhood is allowed to go under that width. And then they refer to it as a skinny street. So if
Do
that helps.
are the streets in the village and the other designated neighborhoods in Nusquin, are they all under standard sizes, or would they all be considered skinny streets now? Or
I think they probably, most of them would, obviously, probably the only one that maybe doesn't qualify all the way down is Breakers. But even like Hawk, for example, then obviously all the east-west running streets, I'm sure would meet the skinny street standard because I don't see them being a normal standard you see in a lot of communities is 20 feet, and they're, I know they're not 20 feet.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
17.
Well, they've been grandfathered in, so they really weren't.
Right. Yeah.
Seven.
Existing non-conforming is the term that is the technical term they generally use.
so
Yeah.
what we're asking for probably is to not say, oh, Nusquin, we want to encourage everyone to have a skinny street. What we want to encourage is safety standards for the streets that we have. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
No,
I
this is
believe so.
going, I said going forward to allow more of same.
Huh.
That's the way I read it.
I mean, yeah. Anyway, for it to me, that is one of the most um like I think confusing for lay people to understand what we're asking for. And so when we say need description of program, reason for this is important and a plan to move forward. Oh, actually, now that I read it, Skinny Street standards shall be applied to existing subdivision standards. I don't know. I mean, I guess if I
This,
read that now, what I'd say is to accept what we have and figure out if there's anything we need to say to make it more safe, accepting that the fact that nobody wants us to put in 2 lanes with sidewalks and curbs. I mean, I don't think you get anyone in Nesquin to say that that's our priority.
yeah, but this is going forward, so this is building standards.
I know, but even going anyway, it's a pretty big question. I guess that's where my brain goes. Is this is a huge question and issue.
Well, it's a carryover from the 2001 plan for
Yeah,
one. And so we didn't uh, get rid of it because many people cherish the skinny streets
Well,
and feel,
that's what I'm saying is move.
yeah,
Tom says moving forward, do we want that? I don't think most people in I mean, most of the people who are currently in Nesquin accept the way that Nesquin streets are and would not like the county to come in and all of a sudden, with money that they don't have, obviously, but come in and say, oh no, we're going back, we're taking the full right of way. We're
that's not going to happen.
they're just not going to do it. And so I guess my question is, what are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to say we've got skinny streets. They may or may not be technically as defined by some. I guess that's what I was wondering. Is there some technical description of skinny street standards, or are we as a community trying to figure out, oh, we have skinny streets. How are
but
we going to make
it's
these as
not what
safe
we
as
have
possible?
now. It's what we will allow for future development.
Right.
Everything that's here now is here now. This is not about changing anything. It's about going forward in the future.
But it is about developing things like we've talked about making the crossing across 101 safer. So
Mhm.
are we talking about, are there things we want to think about to make the streets that we have safer, or are we just
That's
ignoring
not
what we have?
that's not addressed here. Now, if there's something else that needs to be addressed, that's different. But this is talking about adding to subdivision standards.
Right. It's
And
almost saying if you do a development now,
you could
you,
do,
you could do skinny streets because you want people to treat it more like a little village rather than sidewalks and wide streets, parking both sides, like a subdivision is.
So I
So
guess, yeah, I guess now, now that Tom has this on the screen where it says Sarah to provide background information,
there you go.
that's pretty, to me, that's crucial before, like for instance, if I was to be assigned that, I would say I can't begin to finish that until we get information from Sarah.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
there are places where we're held back without having Sarah engaged.
And I feel the same about the one above it, about driveways. Like we need some
Right.
information about how does that compare to other, like I think that's already in our code. Um, and
Well,
so like, are we talking about changing it or,
well, remember when we were on SB 406,
uh-huh.
the housing bill, and we tried to make it so that elements of each lot and everything were more like the way Nescoin is rather than having just nothing walls facing the street that you have here's an entry and it's set back and blah blah blah. And so we need an update as to whether those things are applicable, because Neocani did a bunch of things and the county finally accepted them, saying, well, even though it's a Measure 56 thing, it would take a real huge expensive effort to overturn this. So we believe we're going to go with these community decisions because we feel like they're legitimate and it won't be overturned. So that was a different thing than when we did our 406 work. We were told, no, you can't do any of that stuff. And then it turned around and you could. So we're kind of in a place between the things that we decided that were rejected, and now we're at the community plan looking at it, and we will have to discern with Sarah what things might be put back in from the 406 discussion that were ejected, and they could come back into play here. So again, without Sarah and without Guy here, who's been pushing for a lot of those things, I think this is probably in in limbo until we actually can have dialogue with Sarah.
So I think it would be helpful for me as a committee member to um, look through the plan as we have it now and see what things we really need Sarah to give us some um, explanation about and discussion of, for us to figure out if we need to do more work on that particular issue before we have a draft that we want to give to the community, or if in reality it's better to have the open-ended issue and go through a more extensive community process about these are the options, which is the direction. Like if we're ready for a conclusion, or if at this point, because of the unknowns and the change in the county's position, if we need to present more options. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe we can schedule a situation where it's kind of a workshop with Sarah, and we've got 9 things in here that we don't really know how to tackle without finding out what the latest position of the county is on those issues. So that if you're going to uh, deal with some of these things, that's what we're doing in the time that we spend with her, rather than trying to tack it on to things where we have, 6 pages of things to do, and we're getting down into the nitty gritty, and it's back and forth. Maybe we need to have a committee. We need to identify the things that she needs to help us with, and we could have, rather than a regular meeting, we could actually have a workshop with her to work through those things.
And
It's
Sarah,
kind of hard to do it in these meetings, especially without her.
well, she's
Hi,
here.
I am here.
Oh, there
That
you are. She
emergency
heard her
management
name
meeting
and she
is
appeared.
over. Hi, sorry I'm late. It's
Yes,
the weather
why?
is creating some very interesting circumstances for all of us, as I'm
I bet.
sure
I
those of
bet.
you that are involved in emergency response already know as well.
And you're going to be able to get home this evening?
I left that meeting and came home
Oh,
so I don't
good.
have to worry because we're
Good.
about ready to start hitting some flood stages.
Yep.
And there's a lot of water on the road, and where I live, there's a lot of water on the road. So no, I am here.
Okay.
How's it going?
But
Good.
we're
Good.
we're liking the way this was reorganized, and we're finding that the flow of it kind of sets up a question. It deals with the the posing of the questions and the positions, and then the policies are interspersed, so we know what the county's position is, and then we have
Mhm.
questions that we need to fill in. So we were just having the skinny streets discussion
Mhm.
and trying to understand if the skinny streets statement means that we would like this built into the county, and maybe it already is, these into developments being able to have skinny streets as opposed to
Yeah.
subdivision things with sidewalks and two-way traffic and parking and, huge streets.
Right. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And just to give you some insight, the short answer is without a variance, they can't do skinny streets because the land division ordinance has prescriptive paths that meet ASHTO transportation engineering for streets. So if you kept it in, and this was a policy this was a policy I struggled with when working with Tom because I'm not sure it should remain in. And the reason why is because if there's prescriptive path with a variance process already in the land division ordinance, because that skinny street policy is not for existing streets, it would be for new development.
Right.
So to me, if there's already a path somewhere else with a variance process and that requires a transportation review by Director Leahy, things like that I think can come out. But because
as unnecessary, because something's already in place that will allow that.
exactly. And so that was one of those policies. Oh my gosh, Dan. Sorry, my cat just jumped on my back. That was one of those things to where, come here, you. This is Dan. Now you go down. That was one of those things where I think, so my review of the policies, that's one that should come out for multiple reasons. But also, I don't think this community favors skinny streets based on what I've heard the last couple of years.
So I have a question about the skinny street thing from a different angle because my head doesn't think like community or like land use ordinances. When I read that, to me, it reads, okay, we have skinny streets in much of Neskowin, compared according to what one of the gentlemen that was on the
Michael.
call said. And I don't think that people in Neskowin, the majority of them who live on a skinny street, would want the county with the mythical amount of money to come in and to say, oh no, we're going to take the whole right of way, we're going to put in sidewalks, we're going to put in curbs, we're going to get rid of these skinny streets. We don't want them to be anywhere until in the county or whatever it was. I think the majority of people in Neskowin say we have them. We want to maintain them as well as we can, and we want them to be as safe as we can make them. Is there anything that we want to put in our plan that would help us just review safety concepts or how to incorporate maybe a pedestrian walkway on them or incorporate more safety for bicycles or incorporate this and that? So to me, it's important to acknowledge that we've got skinny streets and that we want them to function as well as they can into the future. Not necessarily that we want skinny streets to be amended to every subdivision that doesn't want them. I know, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So those are great points, but I would say those are different policies because the reality is today, the Public Works Department has the authority to do any improvements within those right of ways. If they wanted to come in today to existing streets, put sidewalks in and pave them out to their full right of way width, they have the jurisdictional authority to do that. What you're talking about are more transportation planning related matters for multimodal accessibility, etc. So I can write some policies that support that. But because this is a planning document, this is a land use planning document, what you were referring to in terms of that community feel and priority is superseded from a planning perspective by the jurisdictional authority that already exists for that platted road right of way.
Okay,
So
then if that is true, I think that most of the people on my street would say we need to add something that says that the Public Works Department couldn't just come in and do that.
They can. It's allowed by law. And if that statement would not be consistent with state law. But what we can do is write policies that talk about pedestrian safety encouraging multimodal for bike paths and keeping that space within right of ways for accessibility opportunities other than vehicles. So that I can do, but a policy that says Public Works can't exercise their jurisdictional authority, we cannot do that.
Right.
So can there be a value and a goal that says that the net, and maybe the different neighborhoods would have different opinions about this. But for instance, in the village, I think the majority of people would say that the road usage is to be maintained, and I don't know if enhanced is the right word, but that they would be, that in the plan somewhere it would say, even though the county has the right to come in and take possession of the full right of ways and do sidewalks and curbs, the position of the Nesquin community plan is that's not what we would want them to do. That would not be our preference. Not as a policy, as a goal, vision, value. Is that, do we have the right to do that in our plan? Are you saying because technically the county has the right to do that, we cannot talk about that in our plan?
So I think what we do is we talk about from a community value standpoint, and again, this is probably the language that I should write with consultation of Director Leahy and County Council to make sure we've got it worded appropriately, is to talk about that community value of, Nescoan values, the minimal improvements for the minimal transportation improvements within the road right of way, and wants to see, and should any right of way improvements occur, be things that are pedestrian friendly and not to encourage additional vehicular traffic or congestion. Like, I can write it in a way that puts that in place, where basically what I'm hearing you say is that the communities don't want road improvements that are going to allow for more parking and, more cars on the streets. What you're looking for is keeping those narrow paved right of way widths, improved surfaces, so that the areas on the outside of that travel lane remain vegetated and places for people to walk, and their mailboxes and their trash collective structures. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, and I guess like when I hear you say, like, as a layperson who doesn't know the ins and outs of what all of these regulations mean, I honestly don't know. Like, when we say we want it to be bicycle friendly, we want it to be this and that, does that mean that somebody's uh, planted area disappears because all of a sudden that's an official bike lane? Or, like, uh, those
Yes.
the things. I think when you're asking people to decide to talk about these issues, they need to understand what the repercussions of them are.
And I will tell you today, Public Works could go in with a bulldozer and scrape everything today.
Yeah, and so
It's not a new thing. It's if the community values preservation of those right-of-way encroachments because you think they enhance community livability, then that's how I would write that.
Uh-huh.
so I think I just I have certain assumptions based upon the people that I interact with, and they could be very different from some of the, like, I mostly interact with people in the village and up Slab Creek. Um, so for instance, Tom's experience with things in South Beach might have a very, he's concerned about issues that I haven't experienced as much. I don't think that there's a speed bump in the village. Tom was talking about people speeding over speed bumps. Um, so um, I don't want to don't want to overemphasize this point or this discussion, but I think as we bring these issues to the community, we need to give them context for what these words really mean.
Mhm.
So
I agree.
I'm understanding from the general direction that skinny streets is still a subject. However, what is highlighted is not what we're talking about.
Correct. We're
And
talking
so,
about different things.
and that leaves the bracket requires discussion, serve to provide background information.
Yep. So what I'll do is I will provide some background information and then I will work on language for values and policies that are consistent with the framework of state law, jurisdictional authority, reality of what exists today. And then Lori, your point is well taken about people have flower beds, they would rather keep their flower beds than see a sidewalk go in a lot of cases. And I get that. I hear that. So let me figure out how we work that with the understanding that at the end of the day, even today, Public Works, if they decided they needed to go in and clear that space, they could.
Well, and also, I think many of us who have been here for a long time
Mm-hmm.
understand that Public Works has that power because they've expressed it at different times in different community member meetings. Like, listen, we could go ahead and do this if we want to, and standards have been different about what you could do with driveways and this and that with different opinions by Public Works, where different neighbors have had totally different experiences about what they've been allowed to do. So many of us understand that I guess the other point that I have is that how can we in the document, if the community agrees that I'm understanding most people's or many people's opinion, especially in the village, how can we state that as a goal, even though we know that technically the county can do whatever it wants under the current laws,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's not in keeping with the way land use has been implemented in the neighborhood for a long time.
I think as I understood Sarah, I believe she's good. She's said she's going to address that.
Yeah.
Before we go too far, I wanted to run this past Sarah because uh, you got your screen there? So you can,
I do.
okay. The red lines here correspond to that short conversation we had earlier today.
Okay.
And I went over this with the members who were on the call, and they didn't have any heartburn about it. But you're the one that matters in terms of heartburn. So, do you want me to accept the changes so it's not so hard to read?
So Tom, are you talking about lines 19 through 30?
19 through 30. Yeah,
Okay, hang on just a sec. Let me read
I
this one.
I can turn off. I can make it as if it was a. Let's see. I'll just no markups. Okay, so
Okay, thank
little
you.
little easy to read.
Yeah, that looks good. The only thing on line 22 is the caveat to there is it's not all land use applications because not all land use applications require contemplation with
Okay.
comprehensive plan. So I would add something like that review of land use applications where the criteria require consideration of Tillamook County comprehensive plan policies. And that includes the community plan because the community plan is part of goal 14 and those comp plan policies.
Okay. Do I
So
need to be more explicit than where applicable?
For those of us on here, I don't think so, but I think what's really important to note is like the variance criteria don't require consideration of the community plan. Non-conforming reviews, it's only conditional uses and zone change and code amendments. So
Okay.
I just want the community, and Lori, I think this is that contextual conversation when we talk about the community at large, is this plan is for, the community plan is for land use, for specific land use planning purposes. And that's where it lies. And then where we can find other opportunities like grant opportunities and other ways to inform decisions, we try to pull it in. But the obligation for consideration that is criteria driven is based on those specific types of land use reviews.
Okay, so I'm struggling to figure out how to incorporate the mention of variances in this part of it.
I don't think we do, Tom, because it's not
Okay.
part of that review process at all. It's separate.
Okay, so what stands there is correct. It's just other things can happen.
Other things can happen, right? Like the emergency, the TLT grants, we were able to pull in some of the policies to help fund the improvements that were done, right? For the funding for that. So, but I think Lori, going back, really just, honoring what you've shared, I think a big part of this is helping the community understand how this plan is used and really where it applies.
Okay.
Well, and you know how it's used where it applies, but also um, to make people feel like they're heard about what they want to preserve.
Exactly. Agreed. And that's where, especially in those values and that vision, that's the part of the document where we can do that. Even if we can't implement or integrate a policy, we can still put it in so people do feel heard. You're absolutely right.
Right, and that's the interesting part of the document. There are parts that are the statements of the community as to what they want, and some of those, it's important to state those things. Not all of them can become policy, and not all of them will have answers. We'll have to come up with answers for implementation that not may not involve the county besides not breaking any rules.
And that's where, right. And so, because this is a county document for land use purposes, we have to be very careful to make sure, Randall, we don't fall into that type of a situation, because then that means the document is not performing its role.
Well, in a backhanded way, in some ways, on some issues, the document might encourage the county not to do something that they were considering doing rather than proactively doing something they were considering doing by saying, yes, we could do this, but it would be against the values and the vision. And so we just won't take an action and do any harm. And that won't be against the law or counterproductive to something that we're legally able to do because we're just not doing it.
And Lori, I think there are instances that could work, but when it comes to review of land use applications, that scope is very narrowly defined, right? But yes, I do see, I mean, it's the vision values is to inform the county of, what the community wants. It's where the policies is where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Right.
I think. And I'm happy that you're more involved in the policy world than I have to be.
I'm glad you don't have to be involved
with me for us.
You can keep dragging Tom with me through it, though, for what it's worth.
There you go. Yeah.
But
Okay, well,
and I apologize for crashing the party late, but I think that there's some really good work in here, and just want to thank everybody for that.
oh, you're welcome. Well,
So we were gonna think about if there are, if there are some of the things that we know we don't know, like driveways, skinny
Mhm.
streets. We can omit that from the list of things to do, but family focused goals, there's a lot of goals there that need stuff. If, we can either decide we don't want to think about this, or we need to describe it.
no, that's in my edits, Tom. I'm going to send you a building a community center and a partner with NVS for family gatherings, playtime, and I don't know about play areas in the village, but I think that those we can tackle those, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay, so I'm going
And
to,
if I may use those as an example, so if there was a grant opportunity that came up,
Right,
right, for a playground or, some sort of park infrastructure, this is exactly where we'd point to that to demonstrate the community supports this
right.
need. So I think, Lori, outside of policies and all of the very strict, rigid work that we do, that's great.
Yeah, that's probably as many as I can. Let's see, partner with the NVS. Yeah, the NCA is already, I just was on a discussion with them today for the 250th anniversary of our democracy, what they want to do next summer to engage more families and things. And uh, so I know they have an intention to create more things for families, activities certainly during the summer. I don't know about year round, but they even want to do like a monthly newsletter that would reach a wider audience and stuff to engage them in different activities throughout the year. So, but I'll take on the first two first.
And what I would also offer with this is you guys work on the vision, values, and statement. My job also is to say, okay, I'm reading what they're desiring. How and where can I make some of this stuff policy that fits appropriately within the land use planning program framework? So just know as you guys are doing your work, it is always in the back of my mind as far as how could I make a policy that I could bring back and propose to you guys as you do your work. That's part of my work is to see where I can fit those things in and where it's appropriate. So, Randall, when you get your work done, I'm going to read that carefully and go, is there a way I can make a policy or something out of this?
Uh-huh. Okay. Um,
Does Tillman County have a policy about community playgrounds?
No. No, usually so in the parks zones, which Nescoin has some recreation management zoning, they're right on the most westerly side. It's where that old Kawanda Beach plat was. So that's recreation management. We don't per se have any, and the golf course is recreation management. We don't have any per se park zones, but in those recreation management zones, there are opportunities for public parks and playgrounds. So what you're talking about with some of these activities definitely align with that. What we could look at as a future exercise also is if like I was thinking about Randall's, you were just talking about this, seeing if there's any remnant pieces on the tax records where maybe we create a park zone. And is
uh-huh.
there a place where going back to these vision and values where we could apply for a grant to put some sort of open space park thing? I could talk to the county if I can identify any county owned remnants and say, hey, the community would really like to see this. So there's a couple of things, including the policies of just what can I do from a planning perspective as a next step to help further these desires. So
Uh-huh.
know that those are the things rattling around in my brain, in addition to all the uptight stuff, as I'm listening to you guys talk, because I really do want to figure out how I can help with some of this stuff.
So
Okay.
in the recreation management zones, are they, as far as you know, are they currently privately owned pieces of property?
Not all of them.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's, or if there's even a remnant parcel somewhere that got foreclosed on and the county owns it, I also want to look and see if I can figure that out, because if we could create a new zone, this is my justification for a park zone.
Got it.
Yeah, so just as you guys are talking, all that stuff's processing and rattling around in my brain to figure out how can I help.
So one of the things we were just saying, and you heard it, so you showed up, I guess, no, was about um, like driveways and different things that we dealt with in the SB 406 that then didn't end up getting in. I guess the consultant and different reasons they didn't get in. Are any of those things uh, after the whatever it is, oceanside revelations of the county council saying nobody's going to be able to successfully fight this. We'll go ahead and put this in. Um, are there things that we had proposed in that SB 406 discussion of housing density that we were trying to get, walls that had windows in them and entryways instead of just blank solid walls, things like that. Are any of those things doable now that weren't doable right after 406 got processed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the things that Oceanside were proposing were not necessarily in relation to Senate Bill 406.
Right.
So what we did, because we have an obligation to comply with the state model code, right? So that's what we did. All of
Okay.
our minimum obligations for compliance were satisfied. Things that Oceanside was looking at were stricter lot coverage maximums, reducing building height, things that actually you guys have a more stringent lot coverage maximum already in terms of how it's calculated and what it can be. So I would say of the things that they are looking for that I've now been directed to fix, right, to try to find some appeasement in terms of what they feel are community livability issues, which go beyond 406. Nescoin is actually, there's a lot of good work that's in this community that I am looking at to model to share with them.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate the question, but short answer is no.
Okay.
Worth
Okay.
the ask. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we're winding down on our time.
Yeah.
Can we find somebody to, okay, Lori, any takers on play areas or family activities?
I can
Well,
put together something on those two, develop players in the village and partner with NDS NCA to sponsor more family activities with the caveat that I would run that by Ran and we could work on it together a bit.
yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Because I'm in dialogue with the NC all the time anyway, and these are some of the directions they're interested in taking on because they see a need to interact with the village with more people and families that are not joining because they don't even know what the NCA is. So they're looking for greater visibility and a way to engage with more, bring people into the NCA, and if they show initiatives in neighborhoods that help those neighborhoods improve, then they'll get their attention, I think,
And
or that's
Tom,
their approach.
I would recommend that I come up with the policy language and the specifics for 8, 9, and 10. just
Okay,
because I have to run those through the state, through the Housing Accountability Production Office. Let me give you guys a starting point of what I think will be understanding what the language is here. Let me see what I can put together for policies, because when I send this off to the state before a hearing, because the state has to review it too, through their land use compliance and housing program. I just want to make sure it doesn't get kicked back and we don't throw any flags. So is everybody
eight,
comfortable with me doing that?
No, that's a good idea. Good idea.
Thank you. So it would be policy 8, 9, and 10.
yep, you got your name on them.
Okay, I'll work on those.
Now, it seemed like Guy had a particular uh, interest in the bicycle pedestrian access. We could assign that to the,
I think since he's not here and he's in the air, that's exactly what we should give him. I can't,
Agree.
I haven't really figured out what changes are even available for
uh,
anyway, I won't worry about it. He can tell me
Well,
what it is.
there are, and I'm gonna, if you guys are comfortable, I will reach out to Guy, or if you send him my way, because we have all of that transportation planning work going on right now for unincorporated communities. There's a lot of pieces that would fit in with this framework if he can make time, and if Chris Lady can make time. There's a lot of this they could hash out together.
Huh.
So
Okay.
I'll let Chris know, because I think we can actually modernize and fill in some of this based on the work that's currently underway.
Oh, good.
So let me have him. So I will let Chris know. And when is Guy coming back into town?
I don't recall.
If you talk to him, Randall, have him reach out to me when he's ready, and I will put the two of them together, because I don't think the Planning Commission hasn't seen any of our transportation system plan update documents yet.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
So I think it would be good for him and Chris to talk about that, because he's going to see him in the coming months when we get that work done anyway.
Okay.
okay, street maintenance is probably kind of a brand kind of a thing.
Well, it has been.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think that came from me that exists there. So yeah, I'll stay on that subject.
Okay.
You want to include somebody else?
If anyone's interested. Um,
Rand, you're welcome to run any of your stuff by me just for a second opinion.
yeah, no, we're gonna work on these things together. Our meetings are gonna involve both our subject selections.
Yeah,
So shall I put Larry or shall I put Lynn?
put Rand.
Pardon?
Ann and Lori.
And if I could be so bold to volunteer them as they work with Chris and I think parking and access to 101 fold in with that too. I think those are kind of a bundled group that it makes sense that if you want to work on those together, they go hand in hand.
Okay, you're talking about that, yeah. 13 and what, 15?
13, 13 and 15, 13, 14, and 15.
Oh, okay. So we're gonna put down you as consulting on that?
I will be the consultant and do the public works wrangling, but I think the people for continuity, because these really all do go it's like the transportation package. There's a cause and effect of each one of these with each other. It would make the most sense that the same people work on those.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So what's the order of operation? You make a pass at it and then hand it back?
I think so. Honestly, I think what would be good is I think we need to do a little bit more research and get some input from Public Works, because I think that's going to help inform this and give you the background. Because I think there's things that will be helpful that you guys should know about. And also then if there's any other things about limitations or things we couldn't write in, then we'll know. But I think, I mean, looking at the, just knowing what I know about the transportation system plan updates, there's some good updates in that work that are going to carry over in a positive way to what you guys want to see.
Okay.
Okay.
Sarah,
So
I have a question for you about just general county policy.
Mm-hmm.
Since our community plan area, even the small one, not even the extended one, but the basic one that's technically under this comp plan, is cut in half by Highway 101.
Mm-hmm.
And Highway 1 really developed after Nesquin was founded.
Right.
We were here first. I know across the country, neighborhoods that were cut, that were really affected by interstate and different changes, all across the country, there's been, up until recently, there's been efforts to make amends for the way that they bisected communities that were historical communities. Is that a policy of Tillamook County, and could we use that in some of our efforts to get a better connection between the east side of 101 and the west side in a pedestrian and community engagement process?
I'm going to say potentially. I agree with you, and I also would like to see that happen. And I think that's where that conversation with Chris first will help us strategize to figure out how to do that. A next step after that would probably be talking to ODOT, right? Because if we're talking about multimodal paths and connectivity, I mean, there might be, ODOT is not a fan of sky bridges. I'll just say that. And I actually, many, many years ago, learned that the hard way because it was my name that was signed on the permit for the overpass by Twin Rocks Friends Camp in Rockaway.
Uh-huh.
And they literally, like, the director of ODOT was like, who in Tillamook County processed this permit? Now, I was not part of the decision making, but my name was the one they saw, on everything. And boy, howdy, they do not like those. I mean, and it was built like they didn't know it was built. I mean, and I don't know how I wasn't important enough to be involved in any of those decisions, but I processed it. So I would say, let's talk to Chris about greater connectivity between the east and the west side. Because you've got the farmers market, you've got that commercial zone strip over there. There's all kinds of reasons to do that. And then part of our conversation with him should be, how do we approach this subject with ODOT? See if we can meet with Bill Jablonski, who is wonderful, and talk to him about, we really want to see this happen in the future, and this plan is the groundwork for future effort. Help us put some language in here that you think ODOT would support, because we're going to use it shamelessly in the future when we're looking at transportation system planning updates for the community.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, no, I think there's some great, just even crazy things like, even if we couldn't do an overpass, even during the summer months when it's relatively dry, what about an underpass where that culvert is, where you go through the golf course and
Right.
under the road, like in Sun River, right? Like, I mean, you're not going to be able to do it in the winter, but in the summer, walking to the farmers market and other areas where people aren't literally running for their lives across the street.
Could happen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there's some potential there. And those are the things we could write about in the plan for that connectivity.
Yeah.
But we'll ask about a sky bridge first, because I want them to be like, oh my gosh, no, because then any idea after that is going to sound better. Right. So it's that negotiation. So we'll strategize how we approach that.
Well, Sarah, I can loan you those images from the Princeton graduate students that had the whole sky bridge over the highway and everything.
They were lovely.
It went
Oh,
up to 90 feet up the hill over there
that's awesome.
with
Oh,
apartments in them.
Twin Rock Friends Camp loves their Sky Bridge. Fabulous. Everyone uses it.
Seems like it's well built.
It is, and it's high enough. Semi trucks and stuff can get under it, but
Yeah.
apparently that was a no-no. We didn't know. So yeah,
Okay.
I would say yes. So I will talk to Chris. I will let him know about these conversations. If you guys let me know when Guy is back, let's get something on the books to have a separate side meeting just to talk about those things. And I will prep Chris so we can have a very in-depth and productive conversation.
Okay, moving on,
Mhm.
workforce housing, it's got a couple of things there. But I heard the short answer is no. Um, is there nothing we can do in this area?
There is nothing more for code work that we could do at this time.
Okay, but we can still have it as we would really like to have workforce housing.
Right. Yeah, so in terms of supporting it, yes. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the language that's here. And like the plan of action stuff, I mean, that's definitely something we can talk about. That big grant that I just received from DLCD, I have a meeting with them tomorrow because that plan of action to further affordable and workforce housing efforts, that's the next study phase of 406 and how to identify strategies and incentives. So it could be, so for the community plan for purpose of getting this done, we could keep it very general, because it's going to take us a year to get that work done.
Okay.
But I appreciate the nod and the acknowledgement of this section, so thank you.
So should I have not deleted that implementation of 406 may be a venue? Or
I don't think so. If
you don't think so, I should delete it, or you don't
I don't
think I
think you
should
should
keep it?
delete it. I think you should keep it.
Okay. Done. And that's all for that. So the only thing is a Stuckey for online presence.
Yeah. Everyone's going, there's no way you can police uh, opinions and politics and everything once you have a site that is a forum. It's like then everybody's weighing in with I don't know how you have an online
I mean,
presence.
we already have an online presence, and we
Right.
can't, and we're not about to uh, put a.
Chat.
No, we're not going to do a chat, and we're not going to have some censors sitting over making decisions on whether or not some particular comment is worthy. I think that is uh, infeasible. Okay, that's what I read. Does
Yeah,
anybody object on this call to deleting that?
I don't.
So from a policy and a document like purpose standpoint, I
Yeah.
would say I appreciate what you're trying to say, but it doesn't really fit within the purpose of this document. And I don't know, like through values and vision, that inclusivity, if there's a
Yeah.
way to add something in the community values that welcomes, right?
But we're not about to have a monitored um, information forum. I mean,
Mm-mm,
we can't do that.
no.
Okay.
One way is all of those organizations that we said were community organizations have their own communication forums. And one thing would be for us somewhere to potentially say that we encourage all community, involvement and open communication for our community groups so that all are welcome to participate, or something like that, where we
Well,
encourage various
we do
groups,
have an online presence. I mean, we have the website,
right?
and we do invite people to meetings.
And the bylaws largely cover that too, right? I mean, there's a lot of expectations in the bylaws for inclusivity and being respectful.
Yeah, it's the number one goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a forum with interaction with this wide open that has no hall monitor is inviting chaos.
And as a
We have enough chaos. Thank you.
as a quasi governmental entity, an extension of the county,
Yeah,
I feel pretty confident that council is going to say no.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
That is
But-
a dead horse we shall now bury.
Yes.
And that's the two areas that I thought we could probably do some damage to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we made it through them and have some assignments, and then you can randomly assign Guy and Lynn some areas, but maybe wait till they come back in and weigh in.
So
That's-
Randall, I would
Yeah.
ask you and Tom, so what is our homework deadline? So when do you want Tom to have the deliverables?
Well, I'll ask Tom that.
Okay, well, in my instructions, I say I'm meant to have things at least 4 days before the next meeting. But if a week would be better.
Okay, so when's our next meeting?
January.
And it's okay to be early.
I think that's January 5th.
Yeah, January 5th,
Okay.
Monday, January 5th. So it's close to a month. And I'm hoping to get you things a lot sooner than
Me too.
that. Yeah, it's better that I'm active immediately and get stuff out to you. And Lori and I will have to arrange to meet and work through the pieces that we've taken on here. But I suspect that's not going to be we should get right on that, Lori. Yeah.
What about a December 29th deadline? So that way, those of us that maybe need to scramble through the weekend
Uh-huh.
to get everything to Tom by that Monday or the Friday before. It's kind of tricky with Christmas in there.
Yeah.
Tom, it will help me to have a deadline because then I will stay on task too. So give me a deadline.
7 days before.
7 days. Yep,
So-
7 days.
So the 29th.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
okay. We'll make sure we include that in the summary. And I think I did turn on the AI thing, so I'm hoping I get a feedback from that tracks all these things.
I will attempt to turn this, I'll stop sharing. If I can figure out where that is. I will attempt to turn this within the next day or so, assuming that my computer stays alive.
Yes.
So far, have not had any glitches.
Knocking wood.
And then you'll have something to go by. So, and I'll make any notes and any additional notes in terms of who said they'll do what.
Okay.
But I think that does it then.
Okay.
We have public comment.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
People, we need to have comment time.
Yes. So, Susan?
None for me. I just wanted to zoom back in.
Okay. Nancy?
I'll say hi, Sarah. Hi, everybody again. I just think you guys have made tremendous progress and love the discussion. So thank you for all your hard work.
Okay.
This is great.
Glad you could join us. Thanks very
Thank
much.
you. And thank you. You guys have a nice Christmas and holiday.
All right.
I guess
Thank
I'm good.
you.
Hopefully we'll see you all on Saturday when we have some great presentations by Barb and Tom about winter preparedness, which it sounds like is needed right now.
Very appropriate.
Yeah, Sarah, what can you tell us about the flood?
Sure. Okay. Yes. Happy to give a couple of updates. So we are looking at moderate flood stage, like early this morning, meaning in the middle of the night. So most of the rivers are going to hit that flood stage. I have not heard like catastrophic 96, 2007 flooding, but I have heard moderate flooding. County offices, all of our schools have a 2-hour late start tomorrow, and I think that's because of the tides and the rainfall with the flooding. The other thing that they are watching very closely because of the volume of rainfall we're supposed to get is risk of landslide and trees being down. So even if we don't get super high winds, just get your candles ready. I would stay put. The most intense pieces of it are supposed to start early hours tomorrow, meaning the middle of the night tonight through Thursday is what I've heard. So if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. If you see anything like in Nescoin, what immediately comes to my mind is the RV park again, right? Of course, especially with that volume of rainfall. So just, keep on the lookouts if you have Nixle or any of those things. All of those updates will be coming through. Randy is actively sending out, our emergency manager is actively sending out updates. But everybody's grabbing sandbags. There's an inventory of personnel in that meeting I was just in of who's going to be where. All of the usual roads will be flooded. So if you go into Pacific City, especially like Resort Drive, or Rappel, and I would say just, watch the Salem Avenue Bridge and Hawk Street and stuff. All
I
the
went into
usual
Lincoln
suspects.
City today and I was surprised that they're still doing tree work on Cascade Head, given all the rain. I was really shocked that they had it down to 1 lane. I hope they kind of stop that if this is coming in tomorrow.
They may have also been trying to get rid of dead limbs so they don't fall and fly, because that's
No, that wasn't what they were doing.
okay.
They're getting rid of moderately aged alders, which
Right.
are prone to
Good.
falling over.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
huge logs they were moving, like across with I don't know what they call them, but chopped up old growth logs. Both times I came up and over.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
wonder if they fell over. They didn't fall over recently.
They've been
No.
cutting a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, it's
So
probably danger trees.
the contract focuses on alder, but if they see anything that's a twin or a crippled tree, they'll take it out. And he said, so I talked to Travis, foreman of it, because he's been delivering chips to us. And he said that they err on more rather than less because most of that stuff's going to fall if it's under the canopy and it's been bypassed, they're going to start falling. So they just clear out the dead wood as much as they can, and the alders are the main target, as Tom said, because they're just at the age where they start to tip over. So I think they've done a great job
Oh, I think so
to
too.
date, and they have amazing equipment that just grabs the tree, cuts it, turns it over, and then they chip everything. They chip the whole tree. It's pretty crazy, pretty wild.
I
I think I'd also just like to say, I'm glad to see you, Tom, and
Yeah.
looking healthy. Don't overdo it.
It says I crashed the last time I was in a meeting. No reason to
Ours.
Oh, God.
Wise words, Nancy, wise words.
Well, it's good to have you all together here, and thanks for attending. Glad we could grab some minutes with you, Sarah. And
Eddie, did you have any comments?
Oh, Eddie.
I haven't seen or heard from Eddie.
Okay.
Appreciate his attendance.
Will
So,
you guys be safe? And I'll be
You
okay.
too.
hearing
Thanks for
what
the
Yeah.
update.
tonight. And if there's anything that's salient that I don't think you know, I'll be sure to send it out. So,
Okay, thank you. There's a lot I don't know, Sarah. That's going to be a big email.
oh my gosh.
Okay.
Randall. All right.
All right. Thank you all.
Take care.
Have a
I
good
will
night.
end the
Bye.
recording
Bye.
somewhere here. Oh, here it is. Recording.